Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sandy Frank's political podcast for a people's revolution against the corporate fascist state. And the corporate fascist state, especially, even meaning people like the Democrats and people like Bernie Sanders and people like Tom Perez and the the Democratic establishment and the entire establishment for that matter, who are uh, playing this game right now with our media and with our political system, distracting from every issue to go after these puppets who if we're gonna say that, well, I mean, we're gonna say that the establishment, especially the Democrats, are in bed with the Russian government so much that, imagine if Donald Trump had, like Barack Obama, given 20% of the United States uranium to the Russian government. Imagine if Donald Trump did that today under his administration. Imagine what the media would be doing. They'd be burning down the world, the corporate media. Imagine if Donald Trump got $500,000, $500,000 in donations from a speech given to the people in the higher ups in Russia, the Russian elite, like Bill Clinton did. Imagine what imagine what would be happening. We have a complete hypocrisy from the establishment. And again, that I'll say this 1,000 times. I'll say this a million times. I literally just forgot what I was gonna say. The Oh my god. But we're talking about how I was going to say, my god, sorry, I was just reading something, but I was going to say a million times, I'm no fan of Donald Trump or Donald Trump's appointees or Donald Trump's supporters. We'll talk about Donald Trump's supporters, but the crowd that Donald Trump surrounds himself with, who are now trying to, they're in this battle with the other people in power on the side of the establishment. We're not absolving any of these people. We're just simply seeing what is happening right now, and it is power plays. Our media and our political system is being used by all of these corporate elites with, a lot of them have a lot of different agendas. A lot of them are enemies. Let's be clear about that. But we're just seeing this game. We're seeing this Game of Thrones, really. If we're going to be serious about it. And this, it's like looking at medieval history or any type of history that, our bourgeois 2017 Western culture says doesn't apply to our world right now. The United States, Donald Trump said it himself to Bill O'Reilly, like, Putin's a killer, but, there's a lot of killers. The United States has been bombing 8 countries for almost 20 years, and killing millions of people, displacing so many more, doing so many other horrible things, and poverty and crime and starvation and disease and famine and everything, drought, everything that the United States is responsible for in the Middle East and all over the world. And the result, the Middle East and what we've done to the Middle East is the result of this constant Game of Thrones power play that the global elites, feel free to do over us. This is what's happening right now. Donald Trump is not the enemy right now. Well, he is, but it's It's this little game being played with our lives. And, this is, it's, even if people like me can't reach you on the moral, human level of not bombing the Middle East because of corporate power plays, look what is happening right now. The stage is set for a world war, folks. These are superpowers. These are the elites of all these different superpowers. The U.S. and a different faction of U.S. corporate elitists, and then you have, this is affecting Russian elitist and Chinese elitist and Saudi and Israeli and EU, European elitists and elitists all over the world, all over Asia. So, we're what we're really seeing right now is what has really been always going on, which is the deep state's global campaign of total manipulation. And we're not going to absolve the Russian governments and Chinese governments for the games they play as well, but we're gonna be realistic about how there's very little evidence, as in none, to justify the sensationalist a campaign that the corporate media is playing right now. This bullshit nonsense psychological operation with pretending to even be against Trump when the Democratic establishment voted for and allowed all of these appointees to go through. It's all cosmetic. I mean, there's a lot of things going on here. Part of what's going on here is the Democratic establishment trying to pretend through corporate media that they're putting up any type of fight. This is all completely cosmetic, and the Democratic establishment knows it, and Donald Trump knows it, and and on top of that, it's this real battle that's going on in the deep state and in the corporate elitist global cabal, and these different factions are going at it, and it's nothing but the kings and queens and lords battling for to be momentary masters. That's all this is. It has nothing to do with the establishment caring about defense or labor or education or anything. Yeah, the Democratic establishment will say that's what it's about because they're smart and they know how to play their little game, and they know how to make the squawks of sounding like progressive. They know how to parrot those things, but their intentions, they hide their true intentions. They're wearing masks. They're wearing costumes. They're jingling keys and dog whistling and gaslighting to serve their corporate masters, which the Democratic establishment is owned by a lot of the same things as the people who own Donald Trump, which is also what we need to realize. And that's, there are some key power players who have power in all of these hands, and the real people making the decisions. But then we need to understand this is hierarchy. Even amongst the top 1% of the top 1%, there's this dramatic hierarchy. Even obviously between the 1% and the lower, as we go down the lower of the power and income and all these things ladder. But we need to understand that there is a power hierarchy in the top 1%, and that is to say that these battles between certain people for Donald Trump and certain people for the establishment government, and that's to say the Democratic and Republican establishment, because they're both against Trump. These people lower, who don't have as much overall power, are lashing out at the other people who are, lower as well. Somebody who's a major Democratic establishment tech millionaire or billionaire or super powerful elite in Silicon Valley or wherever, Massachusetts, or this lower totem pole millionaire power elite for tech does not have the same investments and power interests as the energy oil baron for Trump, as the real estate mogul who supports Trump, the power elite real estate mogul. So, when we talk about the 1%, we really need to understand what we're talking about, and we're talking about not all people who agree with each other and who are sitting in some dark boardroom with like Dr. Claw at the end of the table telling, and like Henry Kissinger next to him, and they're just making this plan like, yes, CNN will do this, and then Donald Trump will do this. Like, no, some of this is actual battling between the corporate elites, and most of it is just this game that's put over our eyes through CNN, controlled by, the Henry Kissingers and the Dr. Claws from Inspector Gadget. He's up there, and these people are. This is just a bread-and circus for these establishment toadies who, love political. Who love to have their urgent political needs satiated, and just want to be able to go back to the slumber that Barack Obama put them in. There's sorry, I'm just looking around. We have a lot of different people talking about this. I'm reading a lot of interesting stuff online and on Twitter, talking about the deep state, and everyone should go to Sane Progressive, Debbie Lusignan's channel. She just put out a video where she interviews someone from, I'm just trying to look up who the guy's name is, but they talk about the deep state, and she has someone on who is very Michael Welsh from Global Research Radio, who really went through a very long and detailed history of the deep state since it was like the 50s or 60s, and gave a very detailed history of the power of the deep state and the shadow government, the power of them, but also the complexity of what actually went on with this power grab. Again, it's not just some boardroom. It is people who it's a lot of different people with a lot of different power of wants and needs who battle each other, and sometimes they agree to consolidate power, sometimes they fight each other to consolidate different types of power, but there's just so much. The main thing to understand is that we're all just pawns in all of this. We're all just being strung along, and by, there's nothing coming out of the corporate media today that should be taken at face value at all. It's just all a complete mind fuck. What CNN is constantly doing. But we talk about the nonsense coming out from people who don't want to admit that the Democratic Party and the establishment government, for that part, but this is happening because all of these brainwashed Democratic Party, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton lovers don't want to admit that the actual corruption is coming from inside the Democratic Party and the establishment government. People who won't admit that the problem is the Democrats and the problem is Bernie Sanders. Oh my God, I can't believe. I guess I should have believed, but I'm having a hard time believing what Bernie Sanders is doing right now, which is nonsense. You look at all of his tweets, you look at all of the information he's putting out as the puppet for the Democratic Party. He's just parroting bullshit about, his tweets are so veiled. He will denigrate Trump's appointees, which is rightful. Of course you want to point to these horrid appointees by Trump as the dangers they are, but he's tying it in with the bogus Russian narrative with no evidence and no proof of any of these things going down, of these lies about what the Russian government is doing to our elections. There was a fantastic tweet by someone, I forgot who it was, but he was just responding to some lunatic corporate news puppet who was tweeting just some sensational nonsense, saying that, like, how don't we know that the Russians didn't I don't know, he was claiming something bizarre with no evidence, and so the other guy tweeted, oh, here it is. So it's Wajahat Ali said something stupid. He said, throwing this out there, does Russia have anything on Comey to say that James Comey wrote the letter, which was his the Comey letter. James Comey was doing his job and announcing that he was reopening the Hillary Clinton's investigation, which was his duty when he's the head of the FBI, and he needs to disclose this information to Congress. And I don't know anything about the investigation itself. I don't know. We don't have enough evidence to say concretely that he was goaded to do so by anti-Hillary Clinton supporters and Donald Trump and people who supported Donald Trump within the FBI. We don't know that. For all we know, it could have been that, or for all we know, there could be some real evidence that popped up showing wrongdoing of Hillary Clinton, which would also be equally unsurprising. So we don't know. People who say that that's what it was, and then, Bernie Sanders' fault, and Jill Stein's fault, and Comey Letter's fault, and Julian Assange's fault, and Russia fault, and what else? All of this nonsense that these petulant corporate elitists are doing with our press, our so-called press. But yeah, it's all nonsense. But so the tweet was, throwing this out there, does Russia have anything on Comey? And then this person, Michael Tracy, who he's for the Young Turks. Yeah, I know I'm very critical of the Young Turks on here, but this guy's pretty good. Roving journalist, correspondent, Young Turks, friends of all dogs. So he retweeted this crazy person. Just throwing this out there, did Russia inject the entire United States water supply with mind control serum? Which is really, it's very funny. But, ever since this Russian narrative started, and, since the election, because, the Democratic establishment and the obviously the entire establishment has been anti-Russia forever. Not just since the 1950s. There have been Red Scares in the United States since the October Revolution, and there has been anti-Russia, generally, propaganda forever. Literally since the, fucking colonies and stuff like that. There's been anti-Russia hate-mongering and fear-mongering in this shitty imperialist colony. But just talking about since the election and since the corporate media's attempt to use Russia, and Russia, we got to remember this was during the debates of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. She was going, Russia, I don't know, Putin. Probably the funniest part from all of the PSYOP corporate controlled presidential debates from Trump and Clinton. The best line was Donald Trump, I don't know, Putin. Putin is not my best friend. And I'm watching this thinking oh my God, I agree with Donald Trump. God, what is the world coming to, where the Democratic and the establishment candidate of Hillary Clinton is so terrible that you agree with Donald Trump. And not to say that the Democrats or the establishment candidates in the past were good at all. They were terrible. Barack Obama, terrible. Bill Clinton, John Kerry, terrible. But but the fact that the brazen corporatism of the Democrats, Hillary Clinton couldn't concede anything. Yeah, maybe she would have been elected if she conceded student debt or healthcare or just one thing. Who knows? But, and just lie. I don't understand why Hillary Clinton wouldn't just lie like Barack Obama did twice. Lie about what you're going to do, get elected, and then don't do it. And then use the corporate media that you control to lie to people and say that actual progress is happening. It worked for Barack Obama. Barack Obama had a lot of support for his entire 8 years when he did nothing and was doing nothing. And, he was being a corporatist, but he was doing nothing by way of the progressive values that he was elected, that he campaigned on twice. But, not to say that we would have ever wanted Hillary Clinton. The Donald Trump situation is what we wanted. If it was Hillary Clinton who would just send us further down the road of corporatism, and Donald Trump who is this buffoon who is hemorrhaging support from the corporate establishment and anything connected with the establishment government or establishment society. He's hemorrhaging that support, and this is one of the key reasons why they're trying to get him out as soon as possible and put in smiley face Mike Pence or Paul Ryan. One, because they want to go to war with Iran, and they want to continue their and expand and the expansion of their policies of war and death, but and economic fascism. But yeah, Trump throws a major wrench in their wheels, a major hurt for them. So, you know, this nonsensical kind of Russia narrative, and you know, we said it before. You know, I don't know if Michael Flynn did anything wrong or right, because we have no concrete evidence. I don't know if Donald Trump did anything because we have no evidence. But you know, we of course imagine if we had the actual evidence that we have on Democratic establishment figures like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. I'll say it again: Barack Obama sold 20% of the U.S. uranium to Russia. Bill Clinton gave a speech for $500,000 to Russian elites. What else did Bill Clinton do that I didn't mention before? Loretta Lynch, not Russia, but talk about a conflict of interest. We're going to talk about Michael Flynn and a supposed communication he did have with Russia. You know, the contents of that meeting we have no concrete evidence on, and Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch met on an airplane and talked about golf and Brexit, and we don't question it, and we don't, just like what's happening with Michael Flynn, we don't say no, we want some transparency into what was going on in that meeting. So when it's Donald Trump and Michael Flynn, we're mad as controlled opposition, but when it's Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch, we don't give a shit. And it doesn't matter, and you're crazy for even saying that means anything. You know, talk about hypocrisy and talk about controlled opposition, because that's what this is. But we have another funny kind of hypocritical thing from this is a tweet from, and H.A. Goodman is pointing this out, the hypocrisy of the Democratic establishment. He says, just 4 years ago, the Cold War was over, and then he points to an article that shows Barack Obama in 2012 against Mitt Romney. Barack Obama. And so the title of the article from 2012 from the Huffington Post is Obama dings Romney on Russian remark. And Obama says the 1980s are calling to ask for their foreign policy back. And this is Barack Obama saying this, hypocrite Barack Obama saying this in 2012, saying that this Cold War that's now been refrenzied up was over. Obama's criticizing Romney for Romney was sensationalizing Russia and the existential threat of fucking Russia. Good God. But just showing the hypocrisy of the Democratic establishment. And you'll notice that in 2012, when Barack Obama was not hyping up Cold War sensationalism, and when Barack Obama in 2012 was lying and saying that, in my second term I'll get health care and we'll do it. We'll get universal education. Yeah, we'll do it. Lying, which is how he won twice. He won by lying, not through red baiting or Russian baiting, not to call Russia a communist, because they're not. They're as capitalist as the United States, but where, and then compare 2012, the strategy of not Russia baiting and campaigning on actual policy won the Democrats the re-election. And then in 2016, we have the Democrats running on sensationalism and craziness and hysteria, and of course they lost. And for anyone who isn't seeing the what's going on here, the Democratic Party is heading for, of course, another crushing defeat by not reforming and not clearing house and not calling for the resignations of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and Donna Brazile. Well, Donna Brazil's pretty much gone, but she'll be around, and they're not calling for a complete transformative change within the Democratic Party. So and we just have constant hypocrisy coming out of the establishment corporate media. We have blatant lies. This person, Eric Wolfson, writes, reminder, Obama went 8 years without a staff member resigning in scandal. With Michael Flynn, Trump couldn't even go a month. And then Glenn Greenwald of The Intercept responded, Obama refused to fire Clapper after he got flagrantly lying to the public about domestic NSA spying. Not sure what that counts. Not sure that counts as a good thing. Glenn Greenwald just pointing out the hypocrisy. Someone in Obama's cabinet was openly, lying, and Obama did nothing, just to show the major corruption that was going on inside Obama's cabinet, despite any corporate media attention on it or any transparency or from the Obama regime. We have, and it's constant. It's really just constant from Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow, and I'm not even sure what Chris Hayes is saying right here. BTW, this is probably a minority view, but if Flynn had a phone call with Russian ambassador urging him not to overreact to sanctions, I don't know what that means. Sorry, it's a longer tweet. If called the Russian ambassador urging him to overreact to sanctions, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. But why all the subterfuge and dissembling? Why'd everyone act like there's something to cover up? And then Michael Tracy writes, because Dems stoked flaming Russia hysteria for months and would latch onto any evidence that purported to show Trump as being compromised. Yeah, so Chris Hayes is playing some idiot here, saying like, wait, why is this happening? But why is all of this Russia stuff happening right now? If I don't even know what he's saying, but he's trying to take the blame off of himself for sensationalizing about Russia for months now. This Russia baiting campaign, and he's playing some idiot saying like, how did we even get here? It's because you're Chris Hayes, you're part of the corporate media who's been sensationalizing this nonsense and destroying our press with your corporate elitist inklings and desires and power grabs and power plays and but we have just complete and total hypocrisy. We have a Jammu Baraka right here. This is just me reading tweets for this episode, basically. But we have a lot of truth tellers out there, thankfully. Trying to lead this independent people's movement out of the establishment desert. So Jammu Baraka, vice presidential candidate of the Green Party, wrote, are people really comfortable with elements of the intelligence community conspiring to overthrow an elected president, no matter how vile? So, we have the deep state shadow government, which is to say, this isn't just the CIA, folks. There are interests within the CIA that are multinational, and a lot of them. We're talking about American democracy, quote unquote. I mean, even though I do believe Donald Trump was elected, I mean, he was put there through corporate media manipulation. He never should have been anywhere near that position. But if we're just looking at the actual contest between Clinton and Trump, we see Donald Trump obviously winning the popular vote and obviously winning the election. For what we're going to say about the manipulation that put both Trump and Clinton there, in terms of the actual contest, Donald Trump won. And so, but now we have this multinational shadow government controlling our deep state and our corporate media to undermine our election system and our democracy. It's baffling. And again, I'm no Donald Trump supporter. I'm no Donald Trump fan. I'm no, I voted for Jill Stein. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I'm still waiting for Donald Trump to do anything that he campaigned on being a populist about. I'm still waiting on it, and obviously I'm not waiting on it. I know Donald Trump is as much as a corporate shill, but just for different corporate people as these Democratic establishment, deep state, corporate media psychopaths. And Donald Trump is a psychopath, don't get me wrong, but we have our democracy being undermined by a shadow government controlled by multinationalist elites, and we have just pandemonium and propaganda coming out of all corporate. This is global, people. Of course, what is happening in the United States is happening in France and the UK and everywhere. Everywhere there's corporate news sources, and there's corporate news sources everywhere in Africa, Asia, South America. Corporate controlled, as in controlled by the West. Of course, these Asian and African governments have propaganda coming out from their own banana republics, but the major banana republic that is the Western power consolidation in Saudi Arabia and Israel and others, this is the far-reaching. It's so vast. It's in so many countries that we even see the deep state trying to influence other countries' elections. We're everywhere, Bolivia has their state propaganda, but it's not controlling the world. I'm not absolving mainly, I'm not absolving Russia and China. I'm not absolving these people at all, or trying to paint these people as happy, smiley people, or any power consolidation in any of these silly little nations. But, and by silly little nations, I'm talking about all nations, not less wealthy nations. I'm not saying that, but we have another tweet from Julian Assange, who has recently reactivated his Twitter. So he says, amazing battle for dominance is playing out between the elected U.S. government and the intelligence community, who consider themselves to be the permanent government. And that's right. Again, no fan of Trump, no fan of his appointees, no fan of what he wants to do with our government. But the deep state, these people are insane. They consider themselves never being able to be broken up. These intelligence communities. The very thought of it in corporate media is not even entertained. If you say that we want the intelligence community to be broken up, like we want the big banks and the big oil companies to be broken up, you're seen as a kook and a crazy person and a conspiracy theorist. Good God, having transparency in our government and the public being allowed to see the illegal actions their government has been up to for the last 100 years? You're crazy. You can't have that. You don't deserve that. And people like Julian Assange are the victims of what happens when you try to speak truth to that, as Julian Assange put it, permanent government. That's what the CIA is. It's a permanent government system that we all know about, that we all know never changes, but we never say anything about it because we've been so psyoped by the corporate media into thinking how important they are. It's bullshit. To think that the public can't handle and what will happen if given all of the information. Nonsense. That the only thing that'll happen will be positive things in the world when there's transparency in everything the deep state and the CIA and the FBI know. This will be a good day for our world. But we have Glenn Greenwald again, another tweet. 1, Trump presidency is dangerous. 2, CIA deep state abuse of spy powers to subvert elected government is dangerous. One can cogently believe both. Which is really summing up this entire episode. Trump is bad. CIA deep state shadow government, permanent government is also bad. And then we need to come from a place of organization and policy in our independent people's revolution, taking all of that into mind. And not just Trump bad, CIA bad, power consolidation and corporate hierarchy in general bad is what we want to see when to really fight an actual people's movement, to actually fight for change. We see it's just complete government propaganda. That the day that people like John McCain and Michael Moore, the day when these two people are coming across the aisle to come together, the establishments of the establishments of the two sides are coming together. What does George Carlin said something about bipartisanship? Is that when you're being sold something on a bipartisan level, like the Iraq War or the Patriot Act or many others, it's just like a colossal fucking that's happening to you when it's not total partisan. When it's when it's both of them, you're being sold something rancid and disgusting, and when you're being sold the Russia bullshit and the sensational bullshit from Bernie Sanders of all people. All right, Michael Tracy's tweet again, and he's looking at all of Bernie Sanders' bullshit, Democratic establishment, corporate fascist tweets. So let me read some of Bernie Sanders' rancid, dangerous tweets here from disgraced Bernie Sanders. Okay, so Bernie Sanders. Today I will be asking the Senate Intelligence Committee to thoroughly investigate if Russia coordinated with Trump and his campaign. Another tweet. We need an investigation into whether our foreign policy is being conducted in the best interests of America or to protect Russia. And another tweet. Michael Flynn leaving the administration isn't enough to clear up questions that many of us have about Trump's team's ties with Russia. So, complete sensationalist Bernie Sanders, with no evidence, will say that Russia had some sort of effect. This it's become like an existential, like supernatural threat from Russia, like the mind control serum in the water, or what was the actual thing? The story they put up. The Russia broke into Vermont, the border, and took a radio tower, and then gave New Hampshire to Donald Trump. That's what happened. Or something ridiculous. But so Michael Tracy says in response to the Sanders tweets, Sanders had successfully avoided falling into the same bleeding Russia hysteria that made Dems look so ridiculous. What happened? And it's a good question. What happened to Bernie Sanders? Why he's doing this? And I think the answer to that question is that during the campaign, Bernie Sanders may have wanted to do something very good for the country, which is to wake a lot of people up to the levels of inequality, basically, economically, politically. You could say that was a big thing about what Bernie Sanders did well in his campaign, shine a light of inequality. But we need to understand that Bernie Sanders has been in the United States Senate for 30 years. And Bernie Sanders has been a useful shill for the Democrats for the last 30 years. Prior to Bernie Sanders' run for presidency, the only times you would really see Bernie Sanders in the corporate media is when the Democratic Party was trying to take credit for something they never had any part in, and things like that. Things like gay rights, where Bernie Sanders would make speeches in the 1980s in Congress for gay rights and a lot of different things. And, Bernie Sanders has always been used as a sheepdog. To think that, Bernie Sanders was forever this fighter of inequality and this fighter for the people, and then just after Philadelphia, when endorsing Hillary Clinton, he changed. No, the real change happened when Bernie Sanders ran for president. This person who did this rogue campaign to try to save the country from what all of us saw as what the Trump iceberg that this country was heading towards. And Bernie Sanders knew this, and Bernie Sanders knew Donald Trump had a great chance of winning. So the only actual blip in the difference of what Bernie Sanders' career has been about was him joining the campaign and up to the point where he got out. This is the anomaly, or the big difference in not an anomaly, but the big difference in the political career of Bernie Sanders. It's from him running, because prior to this, for 30 fucking years of him in the Congress, he was nothing but a useful shill like he is now. And this is what we need to understand about Bernie Sanders. He's always been this useful shill, and his rogue kind of campaign, kind of attempt for his ego to be remembered as like a Martin Luther King character, because that's what Bernie Sanders wants. He wants to have his own Martin Luther King Day, and he wants to have his own, like a bridge over Greenpoint, New York, to be the Bernard Sanders Memorial Bridge when he passes on. That's what Bernie Sanders wants, in my opinion. He's one of these people who exploits the memories of MLK and RFK as if these two people were people who were thinking about their legacy. No, they weren't. They were thinking about getting actual change, and they were fucking murdered for it. But we have complete so we see the complete nonsense of Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, that's not this guy's only problems. He's been a Washington insider for 30 years, people. You don't sit in the fucking Congress. Like, what do you think? Bernie Sanders, leaving Congress and going to some drum circle? No, he's a Washington insider, and he's at least good with his constituents. He's very popular, but to think that Bernie Sanders was ever, for his entire time in the Congress, this renegade, no, he wasn't, guys. And the really only big change that ever occurred in Bernie Sanders' political life is not him towing this bullshit Democratic establishment line, because this is what it's always done. It's him running the campaign and fighting this good fight. But we have constant government establishment and media establishment collusion to people say Donald Brazil giving Hillary Clinton the questions. Oh, government collusion, proof of it. Yeah, it's proof, but it's happening everywhere. It's happening every fucking time corporate media is broadcasting. There's the collusion. Just because we don't have some leaked email means people don't want to talk about it or ask questions about it, because they'll be painted as kooks and crazies. But we're just run by psychopaths who are good at brainwashing. Is the real problem. Just it's just astounding to see this go on day after day. We never lose our sense of outrage, but it doesn't mean the outrage comes any less. But I'm all for criticizing Trump. I'll read one more tweet. Someone wrote to Tim Black, "Can we hope for an asteroid hitting the entire cabinet in some accident in the middle of the ocean?" And this is Trump's cabinet. And Tim Black responds back, "Deal, but you throw in Pelosi, Schumer, Kaine, Wasserman Schultz, the Clintons, and George Takei. The man doesn't even write his own bad jokes." So great tweet from Tim Black. Yeah, I'm against Trump, but yeah, I'm also against the deep state shadow government establishment. U.S. government they own the establishment government and the corporate media, and they're controlling the world. So yeah, I can cogently be against Trump and the corporate fascist state, which is also Trump. I can do two things at once. I can walk and chew gum. And apparently the corporate media and Robbie Mook and Hillary Clinton cannot. Mook and Clinton are part of the problem, but it's just constant manipulation and constant nonsense. And we need to organize, and we need to step up to it and create our own mass media to counter it, because they are brainwashing people unbelievably so with this with this mass media that's gotten out of, that this corporate media that's gotten out of control. But yeah, we've got some big problems in this country, and we need to come together and solve them. And yeah, thank you for listening. Please like and comment and share and tweet and retweet and comment and tell me what you want me to do next, and tell me what you think, what you disagree with. Start the conversation. Start the conversation about organizing an independent people's revolution to take down the corporate fascist state, because that's what we're about here. And I'm Sandy Frank, and I will see you in the next one.